Okay, we are live for a little Sunday nerding. This is a nerd thing today because my friend Bob from Retro RGB told me about or he put it on his website about this thing called the GBS-C all-in-one. And I guess this takes like I guess they modded let me get the Amazon stream going here. I'll explain exactly what I'm working on here. I guess they took like one of these off-the-shelf Chinese video scalers and made it work better. And I guess this is in the process of becoming one of these open source deals. Let me get my overhead camera going here too so we can get a better look at this. Look at that going real quick. All right. And yeah, so nothing really formal today. I'm just going to kind of play around with this a little bit and see if I can get this to output to this and then go into this and then get up onto the screen so you can see it. That's kind of the game plan here. So we are in like super nerddom right now. And yeah, this laptop is missing a module, but I found it the other day and I lost it again. So I did a video on this the other day. The YouTube algorithm decided that it wasn't interesting enough for you to watch. But we got this thing working on a stream we did a few weeks ago. And so the next step now is to get the video out of this into the streaming system, because I've been finding, so the Internet Archive has a bunch of, and this is, again, kind of nerding out here, but the Internet Archive has a bunch of these PC gamer demo discs from like 1994, and this computer is perfect for running that stuff. So I thought it would just be kind of fun to play around with this a little bit. And, I'm digging the live streaming, and I know a lot of you are. And if I were to do a video about like booting up one of these disks, and we're not going to go through the whole disk today. I think today is going to be getting the capture system working. And then over the next couple of months, maybe we'll, every once a month or so, maybe I'll burn one of these PC gamer demo discs and we'll do a stream, just seeing what's on it. And I found that those streams do better live than they do recorded. And it'll still be there as a recorded thing. But yeah, that's how it's going to work. So I want to say hello to some folks real quick, and then we'll get to work on this thing. Kind of a step in the past here. So Paul Bakewell is here. Romeric is here again. Hello. Mark Dell is here. And Romeric says, is this the one we reviewed? Yes. So now we're going to start putting it to work. So that's the next step. And Mark Dell says it looks chunkier than it did before. The camera adds 10 pounds. Back in its day, it was sleek. And we have Tomas de Luna here as well. Hello. So yes, let me show you what this thing looks like right now. So let me, let's try to get this going. So I'm going to boot it up. Now what we did last time is we installed, ooh, that's not good. The CD-ROM drive is starting to go on this. I'm very concerned about it, actually. This is our Windows install disk from last time. So this machine, we kind of revitalized it, and we put in one of those, and the screen is getting kind of dim also. F1 to resume. We put in a compact flash adapter so that we can boot this thing up from a compact flash card, and it is going to be more reliable that way. And it's also totally quiet. Like it doesn't make any noise anymore. These machines used to be really noisy because of their fans, right? So we're going to wait for the screen to kind of warm up here. I'm just trying to get the brightness up. The brightness is at like full blast right now. So this is the low brightness. So this is part of why this device will be helpful, because we can scale it up. Now, hear that? Now, one of the challenges you run into with these old computers, and I had this happen myself, is that the only way to get video out of these is with a VGA cable. Let me close this out here. And the display will get brighter as it warms up here. So because this is a fluorescent display and not an LED display. So the only way to get video out of these is to use the VGA output. But when you've got an old computer like this, you can't, it's hard to get it to work on a modern television unless the modern TV supports whatever weird resolution it's at. So this one, I think, is at, let me double check. I'm pretty sure that this one runs at a 1024 by 768. I think that's the display here. And let's see what happens here. Yeah, so this is at 1024 by 768, and that's the native output of the display. I don't know what hertz this runs at. Let's see if we can flesh that out a bit. It just says default monitor. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm guessing it's 60 hertz, but I don't know. They used to call it refresh rate instead of the hertz there. Let's see. It's got one of these Neo Magic. Okay, right now it's at 60 hertz. And it can go to 75. So let's see what happens when I don't think it's going to work if I go to 75. Yeah, because it's on that. So yeah, 60 hertz, 1024 by 768. And back in its day, this was a hot display. So it's good stuff. And if you're on the Amazon chat, you're welcome to say hello. We're playing around with old equipment today, because that's what I like to do on the weekends, is keep all my old stuff working. MJ Drama is here from Finland. Wide Eighth Mod is here. Mark Dell, his favorite demo disc he remembers was a set of sound files from Leisure Suit Larry for you to use as voicemail. Oh, that's cool. Oh, he interviewed Al Lowe. Send me a link to that, Mark Dell. I'd love to check that out. And I'm glad I got your name right, Thomas. I could barely pronounce my name correctly, so I'm glad I'm right like twice a day, as they say. Paul remembers when laptops looked like this. Yeah, this was a hot one in its day. I got it. I think if you look at my video that I did of this one, I got a really good deal on this because they were closing it out. So this is a Pentium MMX 233, which for a laptop was pretty beefy. And what happened was they were closing these out because they were in the process of transitioning over to Pentium 2 chips, and they were much faster. So this one I got like as they were liquidating them. And granted, liquidation was still expensive, but I think this one was about $2,500 20 years ago, which is, again, not inexpensive. But all right, so now I'm going to pull up the output of this thing. And before I do, let me go onto this display here. So this thing that we're playing with here, this is the GBS all-in-one. It supposedly will take the output of this, and I think I have to get this thing to output its display. What I am not sure about if this can push stuff out to both displays simultaneously. I'm pretty sure it can. Oh my goodness, that is making a horrible noise. Why does all my stuff break when I start using it again? All right, so now let me see if it's picking up anything on my, you hear that? It wasn't doing that the last time we used it, but now it is. Okay, so we have a little bit of video problems here, but that's okay, we'll fix that. And I'm going to see if I can get this to work in a new resolution here. Yeah, so we're gonna have to play around with this a little bit more. Oh my goodness, that does not sound good, does it? Oh, you know what it is? It's this, the motor's like shot on this thing. There it goes. Oh my goodness. Well, that's the end of our CD-ROM, I think. That's not good. So I'm going to have to get an adapter now to get this to work, I think. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to shut this off. Actually, before we do that, we need to get this display up. Oh, I got it. Okay, here we go. Check it out. There we go. We got that working. And so this thing that I am running here, this is the GBS all-in-one. It has a neat control panel that you can use to move things around. So it looks like right now it's passing the source through. And so I'm going to check and see what my, okay, yeah, so here, I'll pull up this so you can see what I'm looking at here. Now what I really want to do is get this upscaled to 1080p. And I am playing with this for the first time right now, so I have no idea what I'm doing. But let me show you what I'm seeing on my vMix display here. So if we go over to the window here, you can see right in here, it's 1024 by 768. So basically right now it's just passing it through straight up, but we have a mirrored output, which is good. But what I want to do now is I want to get this up to 1080. So let me hit this and see what happens. And it should give us a whole bunch of data here on how we're doing with this. I think my CD-ROM has bit the dust. I'm hoping it's just something vibrating, but it seems like there's a motor that's stuck. It is spinning the disk up. Because there's nothing else in this computer that's going to make an issue like that. Okay, so now, it says it's, yeah, see, it's not hitting that. Okay, so choose an output resolution from these presets. Your selection will also be used for startup. 1280 by 960 is recommended for NTSC sources. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to restart this thing. And let's see what happens when it comes back up. The neat thing about how these displays work on these old computers is that they tend not to give you too much of a hard time once you get everything set up properly. All right, so let's go and see if this disk is getting read. Okay, good. So the disk is not broken, or the CD-ROM drive is not broken. And I'm going to cycle the input thing here. I may have to reach out to Bob at Retro RGB and see if he can help me figure this thing out. Okay, so I'm going to reconnect to my NDI here and see if it's coming in at a different, yeah, so it's still just passing it through directly, which I guess for these purposes is not bad, because my SparkBox here is reading it properly. But I want to see, let's see. I'm just going through some of your comments here. I would love to get a, you know, when that trapezoid, when that's available, your 3DO ODE, if it doesn't require too much modding, I am in on that one. So mark me down for one. I will purchase one because I would love that. All right, let's do a little install here. I guess it looks okay, right? It's just that we're at a super low resolution. Now my stuff is upscaling it right now, but I would prefer that this device do the upscaling for me. And so that's the one thing I got to figure out how to get to work. This will do scan lines, but it says it only does it at 240p. All right, so let me try to get this to 1080 now that I reset it. Okay, so I just hit 1080p on the thing there. And I want to see if it's going to force it. Yeah, it just keeps jumping back to where it was. And I'll show you what I see on the screen here, if any of you know what this means. VSync present, HSync present, RGB, HV. So it's found all this stuff, but it is defaulting to source pass-through. Because what I wanted to do is grab that 1024 by 768 and give us a 1080 output so it can upscale. Because that's part of why I got this. I mean, it's good that it's working because I can. You know, my goal was to get this to you, which it's doing, but it's just doing the source pass through. So I'm going to have to talk to. I'm going to talk to Retro RGB, give you some hints on this thing. There is a GBS control wiki, which I got to follow a little bit more. And it could just be I don't know what I'm doing, which is likely the case here. So let's see what happens if I hit this switch here. Oh, it doesn't want to move. Maybe I'm not going to mess around with that one. Yeah, it looks like it's stuck there. Then there's a strip one. These don't seem to want to move. Let's see. Okay, there we go. All right, that just made it a little bit brighter. It didn't seem to adjust the output. So if I hit it back, that looks better to me. And then this strip one, what does that do? It doesn't seem to do anything. Okay, so we'll just leave that one alone. And then the HDMI we want to leave on because we are outputting the HDMI. But right now it's not doing any scaling, and that's what's frustrating me. So let me see what else I can coax this thing into doing here. So I'm hitting like 1920 by 1080, and then it's like it's trying to do it. Here, let me kill my ad blocker. I wonder if that's doing something here. So let's do a refresh. Now what's neat about this thing is that it puts itself on your network. And so you can do all sorts of stuff with it while you're connected to it. Oh, this is great news, TrapExit. So by the way, TrapExit's working on his 3DO. By the way, thank you, Amazon customer, for following. It's going to be an easy install. We expect to have one that just plugs into the expansion port. Awesome. So yeah, if it's easy, that's going to be great. Because that's my biggest fear with every time I take my 3DO out, I'm worried about something going on it. And I think it'd be awesome just to have the whole library in that thing. Because there are some emulators on the 3DO, but none of them are spectacular, right? So it'd be great to have something that works really well. I guess there's that one emulator from Russia, right? That one seems to work okay. But the 3DO, for some reason, like the original hardware, just feels the better way to go. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to attach audio. And I'm going to do that through the headphone jack here in the back. Now what I'm going to do, there's a HDMI output with an input right next to it. And that should get us some audio. So next step here is we are going to install the Wing Commander 3 demo. So I just want to make sure I can get video and audio out of this thing. All right, so now it's switching modes, it looks like. And so that's what I see on screen, although I'm not getting it on the display. And it looks like it's crashing. Yes. So I think the problem here is that this has to be run in DOS. So we're going to have to get a boot disk going and all that good stuff. So that's next on my agenda for later. Let's see here. I think I might be able to force a compatibility mode, I think. Let's see. Let's try to do that. Let's see what we get. I mean, the output looks okay. Again, though, I'm not getting this thing to scale the image, which is part of what I want it to do. And now the website of this device is frozen. So I will have to figure that out later. Okay, so I think there was a way to force these, yeah, MS-DOS mode. That's right, okay. And I could do a boot disk and kind of go that way, but I'd like to see if I can just get it to run here. Because these are all, because this is right around the time that the DOS era was beginning to end, but you still, okay, so let's watch what happens here. So now it's going to go to like 640 by 480, and this is where having a scaler is really important. Now I'm assuming it's going to grab the CD-ROM driver. If not, I'll copy this to the hard drive. And we'll see what happens here. I'm not sure what just happened. I think it just rebooted and dropped me out. Yeah, that's not working. All right. Yeah, I got more stuff I got to figure out on how this is going to work. But the good news is I'm getting the output here. The bad news is I'm not getting it to scale properly. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. All right, use the match preset options to switch between the two automatically. Okay, so maybe that's what my problem is. Here, let's go over here. All right, so if enabled, default to. See, things don't seem to be like responding when I click on them. Match presets. If enabled, default to 1280 by 960. Okay, so what if I want to turn that off? I think what I need to do is pull the cable out of this thing and reboot it so that I can get it to a point where it's not transmitting any video. So let's do that. I'm going to kill power to it and then turn it back on. It's got its own nice little switch here too. And see what happens. Now, if you're curious as to how we're capturing video, this is an NDI box. And I use these extensively here on the channel because they provide a lot of flexibility. Because this, what happens here is that you plug in HDMI, and this one is one from NewTek. They make some really good ones. You plug in HDMI, and then it pushes the video out with a very low latency signal over your network. And the newer boxes do it without any compression. So you get you know, a perfect image. And if you think about, you know, from the standpoint of being on a college or high school campus or whatever, like where you've got, you know, if you've got Ethernet drops everywhere, you now have the ability to bring in super high quality, low latency video anywhere you are with one of these boxes. They're great for this. You plug a camera in and they're on. And a lot of what you see on my channel and on these live streams, including the output of this box, is coming through the network. And it works great. I mean, I've rarely had problems with it. It's a really top-notch technology. And there's two different types. So there's the HX boxes, which is what this is. And this box is compressing the video. These were a little less expensive when they first came out. And the reason why this has antennas is that it can work over Ethernet or over Wi-Fi. On Wi-Fi, it generally works pretty well. I would recommend AC wireless and a really strong signal back to the access point, because you're sending, you know, UDP video, and you got to really have a reliable connection for it to work well. So this does about 12 megabits per second. I think it's like 12 or 14 megabits per second in its high quality mode. So if you got a bunch of these off the same access point, that could be problematic, which is why, whenever possible, plug them into Ethernet. The other boxes do not do Wi-Fi, the ones that don't compress the video, because they're pushing, depending on the resolution, you're pushing a significant amount of data over the network. So it's something that really, I think, is a game changer. And like I said, like we're using these at our local high school, so they can set these things up anywhere. It's really cool. And if you look at, I did a, if you go on my channel, I did a video about how we shot. So this year, the local high school had to do a drive-through graduation, and I did a video detailing how we got it all working. And so we had you know, a pretty big area outdoors to cover. And so we had a camera that has this video technology built in. And what's neat about the camera, it was one of these PTZ optics cameras, so you can control it remotely, and you can also power the camera with Ethernet. So we were inside in the shade. It was summer at that point, or close to it. So we were inside in the shade, and we had a long Ethernet cable, just a single cable, going out to the camera, and that provided power to the camera. We got video back over the network, and we were able to control the camera over the network as well. And I use vMix, which is what I've got right here. And hello. And you can control it. You can actually set camera positions based on this. So my vMix setup currently is I have a card in my desktop computer here. I'm going to do, I've been meaning to get to this, and this week or next week might be the week. We'll see how much stuff comes in. But my computer that sits on the floor over here has a Blackmagic 4-input HDMI card. And that's ideal, honestly. Like if you want the best reliability and you have a studio set up, get one of those cards. So I have 4 inputs. One of them is dark right now, this one here. But this is the overhead camera. You can see my hand there. This is that camera. I can actually show these as I click around. So see that? And so these are the coming in off the card. And I've got 3 of the 4 occupied right now. I've got 1 extra here that's not in use. And then we have the NDI stuff. So if I want to add an NDI box, for example, and actually the one I have, I don't yet have up, so I will show you how to do that in a minute. But for example, this one down here is NDI coming out of my Mac that's sitting at the desk in front of me here. And so you can see I'm just sending the desktop over. Isn't that cool? And so that works pretty well. And what you can also do with NDI, this is free software. The hardware you got to pay for. But if you go on the NewTek NDI website, they have a tool set that you can download. And what you can do with that is stream your webcam as a network camera. So you can go and grab their virtual input. It's a scan converter. The scan converter, you can either send your desktop and or your webcam, and that just puts it out on the network as a source. So instead of even plugging in the computer with a HDMI cable, you can just mirror its video output over NDI, and then it just comes in like anything else. I prefer to plug mine into an NDI box just because none of my computers output like a 1080p square image. They all have different aspect ratios. So when I plug the Mac here into the NDI box, it switches its video mode to 1080p, and I get like a straight up 1080p output. The new Spark box, I've got one on the floor here. It's called the Spark Plus. That one does 4K 60, but you got to have a wired network. So I would say, you want like, gigabit obviously at a minimum, but 10 gig is probably the way to go if you're doing a lot of 4K NDI, because you're pushing probably a couple hundred megabits because you're doing uncompressed video. So that's something to keep in mind. And I know that Eric is seeing this CD. I'm going to move this out of the way so it doesn't bug you. Sorry, this is just a Windows 98 install CD, so it's hopefully no harm, no foul. All right, let's see, why is this thing not connecting now? Let's see, because supposedly it connects up to your network. So I'm going to check on my phone here and see if I can find the IP address of this thing and just connect to it manually. This is an open source, or will be an open source project. And what they did is they modified an existing video scaling box because they found that its internal software was not great. But when they, I'm just looking for the IP address here. But what happened was after they started playing with it, the folks that have been modding these devices, they discovered that this generic scaling box actually is very good with the right software. So they wrote their own software and overwrote the built-in firmware on it. And for RGB scaling and VGA scaling, this thing actually does better than what it was like when it was a different thing. And it's very low latency. It's like an equivalent to the open source scan converter. So it's why we're playing with it today. And it has its own web page. And so what I'm trying to do is get back into its web page here. So what you do when you first get it is you connect to its Wi-Fi, and then you can attach it to your Wi-Fi network so you can adjust its settings just with a web browser. And so that's what we're in the process of trying to figure out right now. And let's see what we get here. And so my hope is, what I really want to be able to, here we go, now it's back up. What I really want to do with it is, and this is the web page that configures it. Okay, so now these settings are working because it's, oh, no, it's not. See, if I click on it, okay, there it goes. All right, so if enabled, default to 12. Okay, I don't want to do that. I'm going to turn that off. Low resolution VGA input, pass through or upscale. Low resolution sources can either be passed on directly or get upscaled. Upscaling may have some border scaling issues, but it's important with displays. Yes, so, and it doesn't support anything higher than 60 hertz. So that could be part of the problem, but we'll see. Because actually, when I checked the settings, though, we were coming in at 60. Okay, low resolution is currently set at below or equal to 6. Oh, okay, so that's why. So low resolution is currently set at below or equal to 640 by 480. So it looks as though, and I'm going to have to talk with my friend Bob about this one. It looks as though because I'm sending 1024 by 768, it's just passing it through. And I wanted to upscale it, but I'm okay now because now I understand what's going on here. So what we've just enabled here is that when this thing switches to 640 or 480p, it should upscale that image to 1080p. So that is why we were getting that. So let me just enable this setting here. See, it doesn't really want to take that setting. But what we're going to do now is try this out. Okay, I got a question, by the way, on Amazon. Any information about, this is from GNV, about if the HDMI output can be connected to an HDMI Cat6 HDMI conversion? That is, the output sufficient to drive HDMI monitor at the end, maximum run length. Okay, so the important thing about how this works is that this is a digital protocol, and it's taking in the HDMI video, but it's converting it to something else. So there are boxes, and BirdDog makes one, that will decode the NDI on the other end and give you HDMI output. So you would need, you need an NDI box that could output NDI. And the BirdDog will do that. And that's a company called BirdDog. They make NDI boxes like this one. I think I may have one linked actually on the product carousel. And the BirdDog device will, some of them, you got to make sure, just double check and make sure the one you're looking at does it. Yeah, this is the one here. That one will allow you to put it into monitor mode. Now, the other thing you can do with these is that if you download the free NDI tools from NewTek, they give you a utility to be able to view any NDI source on the network. So you could also grab that one and just output it from the computer if you wanted to as well. So there's a couple different ways to do it. I'm running vMix, and that will also do that. All right, so I'm beginning to understand this box a little bit better. So what should happen now is when we run this again, we should see it upscaling the 640 video. So let us add that back in. And let me show you what I'm doing. Again, this is NDI, right? And what's neat about how vMix works is it treats whatever you bring in, it's okay with it. It just treats it like a source. So whether it's NDI or a camera, you can mix them together. So I've got the NDI source here, and it takes it a second to get into sync. See, that was what was happening before, but it's okay. It'll figure itself out here. I got to turn those off. By the way, this is what we're using to stream at the moment as well. So I'm going to go into those video settings we were in a minute ago. Let's go to the control panel here. And we're going to go back to display, because the SparkBox is not digging what it's getting. It's like, I don't like what you're sending me. So we're going to go back to that Neo Magic thing. Okay, so we're going to do monitor and LCD. Let's just do monitor here. Well, I don't want to do that because I'm going to lose it. Yeah, so it's doing 60 hertz, which is good. And I think what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to hit our key to kind of just rejigger it, if that's a word. And see, before what happened was it eventually just started working. Remember, I looked up and it was like, oh, it's working now. So I wonder if there's like a because we were just still getting that fuzziness down there. So what I might do, let's pull that out again, plug it back in. Let's see what we get. Yeah, it's still doing it. And maybe I will hold that out, plug it back in. And sometimes I found with these SparkBoxes, like when they're up, they're fine. But sometimes they get a little quirky. And so a good little reboot there is sometimes a good way to fix that. And what's also nice about vMix, and I think any other software that uses these things, you can see right now like the output's kind of frozen. But once vMix detects this is on the network again, it's going to pick it back up. So you'll see it come back up again. And yeah, it's still doing that funky thing. So now I think what I'm going to try here is let's go to 640 by 480 and see if it does the upscaling. Yeah, it didn't even do really much of anything there. Okay, so let's go back to our control panel here. And let me see if I can force it to do something. Oh, it looks like it. Oh, so now it switched over to 1080. And now it's doing the source pass-through again. Yeah, I'm going to have to check in with my friend on how to make this thing work, but now it's working. So it looks like, at least for this configuration, the source pass-through is the way to go. So now what I want to see is if we run this demo again. Let's read the README file here. So what I'm going to have to do, and I know Phil's Computer Lab has a few of these resources, we're going to have to build a boot disk, which I don't believe I'm going to have time for today. But that's going to be like our next wave of this. So this has been a step-by-step project. The first step was getting the computer to work, which we did get going the other day. And what's neat about how we configured the computer, if you watch that video, is that we put in a compact flash drive to boot from. So we essentially have like a solid, it's a compact flash card, but we have a solid state drive on the laptop. So that was, task one was getting the computer to work again. And we're running Windows 98. This is the last version of Windows 98B, Win98B, I believe it is. I'll double check. Where do you go to find out what version you're on? I think it's under System. So let me pull it up here for you. So this is 98A, second edition, sorry. So it's Windows 98 second edition. And this computer's got 96 megs of RAM on board. It's a decent machine for its day, and it runs this really well. So it's like the pinnacle of like Windows laptops from its time. Let's see what the demo here requires. Maybe we could try to run a different demo that might be more cooperative. Okay, so the demo should play some video. And you know what's funny? I remember having the same problem with this back in 1994. So what we did, okay, this will force the game to ignore the VESA driver and use VGA. Okay, so let's try that. WC3 demo /V. Let's try that, because we are running it in Windows, and that could be part of the problem. I'm going to turn off that compatibility mode, though. And you know what I might do too? I might run this from the command line just to see if we can get this to work. And I'm going to talk again. I'm going to call my friend Bob. Maybe we'll have Bob come on the show one day and help me set this thing up, because I'm not getting any good scaling on this sucker. Handquake says that my latency is really good on this. Yeah, it's pretty low latency when you're playing around with vMix, especially when it comes off. So your latency on, here, actually, I could put this up and you could see. Here, you know what I'll do? I will add, I'm just going to think about how I'm going to do this. I'm going to give you a 2-up view. Oh, I got one set up here already. I'm going to give you a 2-up view of both the computer and the output that we're getting. So here is the output, and I'm just setting this up right now. Here, I'll show you what I'm doing. So I'll pull it up on the screen here. So, and the other one will be camera 2. And this will give you a sense as to like what kind of latency you can expect with NDI video, because NDI is usually super low latency, even with the compressed version here. Okay, so let's take a look at that. All right, so now, I mean, there's probably some, but and again, this is capturing over the network. So this is it's grabbing that video, it's compressing it H.264, and it's pushing it out over the network. And you can see, if we go to our performance here, I'm not sure. Oh, so yeah, this is kind of split because I've got 2 NDI sources coming in. So the Mac here is sending about 120-ish. So that's why there's so much coming in, because I have 2 NDI sources going in at the moment. So the Mac is doing a lion's share of that, because the other NDI box we're using doesn't compress the video. But give you a sense of what the networking is like there. And then the upstream is just my streaming out to the 2 sources that we send to. But yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, so let's go try this again and see if we can force it with that WC3 demo/V, I think was the command. Let's make sure that's the exact one here. And watch something else that's cool with this. So you see how we have in the lower left-hand corner there, I can do this thing called merge, and it just kind of automatically closes the distance there. All right, let's see. Okay, so it's WC3 demo. I wonder if I have to copy this to the, all right, let's see what happens here. We'll try this first. So I have plenty of hard drive space. And granted, we're running this in, oh, see, now that's working. So I think it is upscaling. Yeah, it crashed again. Okay, so let's try one more thing here. Let's just copy this over. See, it didn't do that before, right? So it's talking about having some space free on the drive. So I wonder if it's trying to write some temporary file to the hard drive. So, and there's no install here, by the way. Well, there is a thing called catalog. Let's see what that does. I just want to play the video file. That's all I really wanted to do. Let's see. This is the Origin Systems. Oh, cool. You can click on one of the games. Oh, that's neat. This is like your typical CD-ROM thing, right? Because this is just, you had the web, but not quite yet. So most of this hypertext stuff was done, you know, through these clickable virtual catalogs and stuff. All right, so you know what we're going to do? We're going to put some of these files on the C drive here. But I'm happy because we're making progress on understanding how the scaler works. I was hoping that it would scale up this resolution that we're at right now, but it's not. So that's the next thing we got to figure out. Now I've got a Wing Commander 3 folder already. What's in that one? Oh, it made it automatically. All right, so looks like it did copy something over. I'm just going to move the whole darn thing over here. If not, I'll come back to the drawing board and figure this out later. I think what I have to do is create a DOS boot disk and get that going. Yeah, Mark Dell's got the solution. Yes, for a boot disk. I got the one problem I have is a lack of a floppy drive. So we got to find a floppy drive. But we also have to configure the high mem sys and the EMM memory, like all this stuff that I forgot how to do. I got to remember how to do all that again. I'm going to try to run this from the hard drive and see if that makes any difference. I doubt it, but let's see what happens. And it's funny though. I remember like trying to run this. So let me play this scenario out for you. Back in 1994, when this demo first launched, this came on a magazine from PC Gamer. This was the first CD-ROM that they released for their magazine, and the magazine was like $8 an issue back in 1994. So do the math on whatever that comes out at, you know, inflation-wise. And they packed it in with the magazine. There was a version of the magazine with the disc and one without. So I, of course, opted for the disc version. And they sold the magazine. I think they sold it at the campus bookstore, which was the worst part because I could walk and get it. And I ended up subscribing at some point to it. Here, let's run the PC Gamer executable here and see what we get. File loaded. Okay. So, oh, you know what I'm going to try to do here? Let's get the audio going. It is wired in. Oh, it's playing audio. Okay, so hang on. I just want to turn down the audio input so I don't blow your eardrums out here. So we're going to go over. So this is where the audio section is. And I'm just going to turn this down a bit. And then what I'm going to do is just put this on so I can hear it too. because it was playing some audio a minute ago. Let's see what we get. And I'll show you the full screen here. Welcome to the first CD-ROM disc from PC Gamer. We've been planning this for a long time, and we think you'll be excited as we are. And this is just the beginning. Each month we'll be bringing you a new disc packed with interactive demos of upcoming titles, complete games, bug patches, and other programs of interest to gamers. While we've put a lot of effort into the first disc, we know the disc, just like the magazine, will be constantly evolving to suit the needs of you, the reader. So let us know what you like, and just as importantly, what you don't like. Again, welcome to the exciting world of CD-ROM. Hold on tight, the ride is just beginning. And this is 1994. So I think like the people started getting CD-ROMs probably around 91, 92, I would say, when they first became kind of affordable. So, you know, they had to wait until there was enough people that they could start issuing these discs out to. And this was from 1994. So I remember getting this like right within the first couple weeks of my freshman year of college. And so what happened was Wing Commander 3 required 8 megabytes of RAM. I had 4 on my PC. So one of the guys on the floor had a slower PC than I had. I had a 486, he had a 386. But he had 4 megs of RAM on his computer. So we took the RAM out of his computer and put it in mine just to run that demo, just to give you an idea as to how hard it was to get stuff to work. And part of why like you would even want this kind of thing is because you didn't have a fast connection to the network. So for example, like you know, in my dorm room, you were connecting up at that point 28.8. You know, so just a super slow modem. And I want to thank Shab for following me on Amazon. So yeah, there was some audio here, but it's not, I don't think there's any sound in this part. So let's get around to some other stuff. But the problem is that, you know, like you would have to download these demos, would take forever. So the Wing Commander 3 demo, let me pull this, let me quit here. Because I would download stuff because I had, when I got off to college, I was close enough that I could dial into some of these BBSs that were local and download this stuff. But, oops, this was, let's see, get the file size on this. So the Wing Commander 3 demo was 40 megabytes. 40 megabytes. So let's take a look at the calculator here. Download speed calculator. So let's look that up real quick. So to download 40 megabytes at the speed they were at back then, here, let's pull this up real quick. So let's say 40 megabytes. Calculate. It would have taken, with the fastest modem that you could really get at that point, I don't think the 56K modems were out yet, the fastest modem would download this in 3 hours. So you're just not downloading it. I mean, it took forever. And if you were on a BBS, you know, one of these bulletin board systems, they would throttle how much time you had on the site. So you were allocated in the aggregate maybe an hour a day, because when you were on that BBS, if it wasn't a multi-line bulletin board system, nobody else could get in. It was one person at a time. So that's why you wanted one of these discs, right? Because it was quite a long time to take to download this stuff. And then at that point in time, if you were paying 10 or 15 cents a minute for long distance, that was a good deal. So on top of that, you know, 10 cents a minute times 60 times 3 gets expensive. So that's why this was such a welcome thing to have, like this magazine every month that would just mail you these huge demos. All right, let's go back and see if we can jump into that PC Gamer thing again. Like I said, we'll probably do a more formal live stream going through these demo discs, because it'd be kind of fun just to run through those. Robert Van Edda, thank you very much for your Super Chat contribution. I appreciate that. So, okay, so play like a little thing. And Let's see what's on this one. Okay, so let's get into, so we have games. Let's see what other software is. So they have the Imagination Network. That was some kind of thing there. They have some Doom wads. And here's the other thing, game patches. Like, you could have a bug in your game. You had no idea how to get it fixed. If you didn't have a modem, you were done. How would you get it fixed? So let's see what kind of game patches they have here. Are there any notes on that one? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so there's a bunch of patches on here. Yeah, so it's often hard to get your game patched. You had to download these patch files, and then so this was the other thing that they were doing, is they were grabbing patch files for all of these games and putting them on the disk so you could get your game fixed. And I think for a lot of tech support, you know, when a customer called up with a problem, like, hey, we got the patch on the latest version of the PC Gamer magazine. Isn't that crazy? And you look at some of these patches, like, I don't think I remember War in Russia, but you look at all the stuff it fixed. It was doing rebalancing of the game. He had Ultimate 8 or 7 Pagan here, a patch to fix errors found in the AdLib sound card. I mean, these are some significant bugs, right? Crazy. And some Doom wads. Doom wads were all the rage at that point. Is there notes on that? Let's see. Please refer to discs pages in magazine. Okay. And here's a bunch of Doom wads. We should play around with some of these. Harold Smith, thank you for the kind words on the Amazon chat. Yeah, I never know what works on different platforms, but this is kind of fun. I'm just glad that this is working. I'm really happy to be able to get the output of this onto our screen here. It's really cool. All right, so let's go and what was funny is over time, these discs got more elaborate. So you would get a little bit more of something happening. All right, so let's go in to the welcome. Okay, we read that already. So we'll close that. And then we'll go to games, because that's what we came here for. There we go. And I doubt if I click on this if it's going to make any difference. Because I loved the video on this game. Like, there was a lot of like full motion video games back when these things came out, but Wing Commander 3 they really had a good mix of video and gameplay. All right, this is better than we did last time, right? Oh, we got somewhere. Okay. Let's set this up and see if we can get it working. Okay, so here, let's go full screen. Set up music card. All right, so this is the problem. What do I have on this thing? I think this didn't have general MIDI either, so we're going to skip the music card because we didn't have any of these. And this is just like your standard Sound Blaster. And it's reading off the disk.
Mitchell!
All right, that worked. All right, so we auto-detected that. Set save game directory, okay. Oh, I hope this is going to work now. Okay, save settings and run Wing Commander 3. Let's see what we get. This is exciting. This may actually work. Oh, it's running, it's running, it's running. Yes! All right, you're going to love this. If you've never seen Wing Commander 3 before, let's take a look. Harold Smith is here from Amazon. He was buying a universal remote for his wife. Awesome. Oh, looks like it locked up. No, don't lock up. Yeah, it just froze up on us. I wonder if I copy this whole disk to the... So it didn't play the video scene for us. It got frozen. What's it doing now? Okay, so now it's doing the gameplay. There we go. And if I remember correctly, yeah, so here's the autopilot on there. And normally it would be playing music right now. Yeah, it's reading everything off the CD. And I need to set the controls. I have no way to control this thing. Come on, play some video for us. Like the video, like the full motion video they did on this was just amazing. But you saw how good the game ran, and nobody had a computer that could run this game when it came out. And if you're wondering who made this, Chris Roberts, who's the guy that's making Star Citizen, which I paid for 9 years ago, and I still do not have the game. He's been developing it like forever, and so he's always pushed the limits. But he always had like somebody telling him not to, like, to actually just release the game and get it over with. And then you get caught in this loop, by the way. So I think what I'm going to try next with this game, we'll go look at a few others, but I'm going to copy the whole thing over to my whatchamacallit. So you know what I want to figure out here. Let me grab my keyboard, because if we can get the game to actually play, because I think you have to control it with the number pad if you don't have a joystick attached. And I've got a PC joystick somewhere, but not, and that computer has a built-in joystick port. But I want to just plug a keyboard in with a number pad so we can at least see how it plays here. And I just have misplaced every keyboard I have with a number pad. I've got a bunch of 10 keyless keyboards, but not one that has everything on it. And by the way, it's going to snow where I am tomorrow. We're getting like a ton of snow, like a foot. So I will be hanging out, doing my thing. Let me go grab another keyboard out of the back here. You know what I wish I could find? Because we all have a million of these things, but I don't think, so I'm sure that my computer is not going to cooperate with a USB keyboard. And I don't have any PS2 keyboards handy, do I? I wonder if I do have one somewhere. Let's see. Well, let's see if the USB thing works. This computer actually has a USB port on it, which is right here. So let's see what happens when I plug the keyboard in. Got a keyboard. Yeah, it needs like a driver for everything on the USB. Because we cannot control the ship with the arrow keys. It needs the, oh, you know, I could do the number lock thing. Hang on. So let's go numlock. Huh. Let's see, because I think it was like 4 and 6 would move you left and right. We're not getting any sound out of it either, so we've got to reset those sound things there. But it actually runs pretty good. I have to say, like, okay, looks like we have an enemy ship coming at us. So let's get back to, we get out of this screen here. Turn the numlock off, maybe. Yeah. That's cool. Okay, so let's see if we can get out of this here. We'll figure it out. So Eric's Variety Channel's got the snow already, so it's coming our way. It's just killing me, by the way, that it's not showing you the video, because the video on this game, I have this game somewhere, so I will get it out. Let's see if I can kill this before it loads it up again. All right, so we'll force that to quit. All right, let's see if we can search for the best place for your driver. Let's see. You know what? I may need that Windows 98 disk again. So I would imagine it's got keyboard drivers for the USB on the. And we're just going to try to get the keyboard working here. There it goes. Lenovo Calypso USB keyboard. You see how hard it was just to install a keyboard back then? It was like a act of Congress here. Okay. And get rid of some of that video garbage there. I think I'm like caught in a loop here. Finish. Okay. Did it find it? No. And this is why USB had a hard time getting traction, because you were supposed to be able to plug stuff in and just have it work. And more often than not, this was what happened. Oh, now it's working. There we go. Cool. All right, cool. So you know what? Let's try one other thing here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to copy this entire CD-ROM that we downloaded. I'm going to copy it onto my hard drive because I have enough space. Back then, you never had enough space to do this. But we have, how much do I have? I have 3.7 gigabytes on this hard drive. This was a lot of space for back then. And I've got only 280 megabytes in use. So let's close this out. And open that up. And what I'll do here is grab another window, and I'm just going to copy all these files over. All right, so we're just going to grab all these and just dump them into that folder. What time is it? Oh my God, it's almost, I almost have to get going soon. All right, let's go. See, back before I had children, I could just do this all day long, and I did. Actually, I would say before I was married, and certainly before I had kids. But now my tinkering time is more limited. And the worst part is by the time the evening rolls around, when everybody's sleeping, I'm so tired. And it looks like folks are saying the capture video is looking good. Yeah, I'm surprised it's coming over pretty decently. This is, you know, just it's direct pass-through. So in hindsight, I probably didn't need this thing, although I think it's upscaling, because when we do run the game is running 640 by 480, if not 320 by 240. So it's definitely upscaling that that other video. And like I said, I got to just learn more about how this thing works, because it's more of an open sourcey kind of project. And the reason why this was appealing to me is because it doesn't introduce all that much lag to the mix, so it's very low latency. So you could get like a scaler, you know, a Geffen scaler, one of those other scalers that are very good, but they introduce additional frames of latency, and for games and stuff, it's not as good. So there you go. But yeah, we're dumping the entire CD-ROM onto the internal solid-state hard drive on the laptop here. And it's not all that much. I mean, it's 200 and 300, it's about 300 megabytes, so it's not that big. By the way, if you're interested in these disks, where I found it was on the Internet Archive. And I'll pull up, I'll pull it up here. So the Internet Archive has all of this stuff just archived, essentially. And they have a lot of the early ones here. So this is the first one. This is the one we're playing with today. And I don't think you can do it on this one, but they actually have places where you can boot this stuff up. And this was what it looked like. So when you got it in your thing, and you could see all the games you could run on it. And this was packed in with the magazine, and that's what the disc looked like. And I have a few of these that I found over the weekend. So I've got like 3 or 4 of them left over. The ones that I have are from '96. I think that's when I subscribed. So for a while, I was just going to the mall and buying these. But if you think about it, you know, back then, even now, like a game is, you know, good, decent PC game will run you $50, $60. Because I'm pretty sure that this game, Wing Commander 3, was about a $60 game, give or take, if I'm not mistaken. The prior version of it so Wing Commander 2, it was like $49, but then they had a speech pack for another $25. These were all on floppy disks. We'll play that game one day. And so the game would run you $75 back in 92, 93. So these games were not cheap. So when you think about like how much time could I get out of $8, this was $8 well spent, because you could spend easily a day or two just poking through all the stuff on the disk. And that was true of the 3DO also, which we looked at a few weeks ago. So that's what we're trying to get working here. And we'll just let that finish up. It's about another 2 minutes left, and then we'll go from there. I'm surprised this CD-ROM is still working. And I got some super chats coming in from some other folks here. Thank you very much. Eric's Variety Channel had a 40 meg drive. Yeah, my first, so I had that Apple II GS behind me. Did not have a hard drive until now. I actually have a compact flash card in that one now too. We're going to rebuild that on one of our upcoming streams. So that computer had no hard drive at all. I was always struggling with floppy disks on that. I had 2 floppy drives. It was awful. So when I got the PC, it had a 130 megabyte drive. That was my 386. That was a big deal, having that much space. Eric said, Eric's got a great channel, by the way. His last welding video was the size of the hard drive. It's true. It's true. In fact, by the time this stream is over with, I think it'll probably be 1 or 2 gigabytes easily. And yeah, by the way, this device, because Mark Dell would put a link to the Amazon thing, which is great. I appreciate it. And actually, if you're watching me on YouTube, I would love for you to go over to Amazon and follow me there. I'm trying to get up to 2,000 followers on Amazon, if you don't mind. This device is not being sold on Amazon. It is it's about to become an open source project. But right now, there's a guy selling these things, and he's out of stock already. I bought they had maybe 100 of them available. But more will be available over time. And they're going to turn this into an open source project. So the inputs on this are RGB, VGA, and it also works. I didn't have one that worked with this. It also works with what do they call this one? Why am I'm spacing on the European version right there on the side. And so I did not have VGA or whatever that is. I can't remember it. Why? I know exactly what it is. I don't know. So this has inputs that I didn't have before for my video system here. So the fact that I can get this on screen for you now has been great. And it looks like it's handling the lower resolutions pretty well too. So that's been good. My only concern is that when it gets above 640 by 480, it directly passes it through. So what I would have preferred, and I got to figure out if there's a way to tweak this, is I would prefer it just upscale everything to 1080p. That's what I really would like it to do. But we'll see what happens. And by the way, tomorrow on the wrap-up, we're going to cover this whole issue with GameStop and the stock stuff. It should be S-Cart. Thank you, Christopher Clark. That's what it is called. I appreciate that. And Red Hornet just came over. I'm here to hit the stars. Hit the stars button. Good. Hit the stars. Yeah, so if you wanted to see, I'm just waiting for this to finish copying. If you want to see how this works, I'll show you what the Amazon thing looks like so you can get a feel for it. I know 26 of you have already clicked over, so I appreciate that. And so when you're on my thing here, I guess if you click the star, stuff happens. Isn't that cool? And by the way, the latency on Amazon is less. And then what's neat is that I could select a product here and it will feature it. So I just changed the product on my phone. And what will happen in a second is it will change that carousel. Isn't that cool? So when we're covering like all sorts of different products, it will update that carousel for you. I think that's pretty neat. So that's the Amazon thing. All right. We are still copying. 15 seconds left. Yeah, this CD-ROM drive is pretty quick too. I forgot how many X it is. So an X is how much more than your base. Oh, it's done. An X is how much more is it than the base CD speed at the time. So your typical CD-ROM back in the day when you could first get one was 150K bits per second. Yes. Yes, I think K bits. And then the big deal, and this is the first one that I got, was the double spin. And that was 300K bits per second. And if you think about it, like every couple of years, they would double the speed of the drive. So I had a 2x drive initially. And then I upgraded to a new Pentium desktop. That's a whole other story. We'll talk about that one another day, freshman year of college. And then I was at one of those computer shows. You know, you go and just buy stuff from vendors at a computer show. So I went from a 2x to a 4x. So you think about that. Like one purchase, you doubled your speed. Granted, it was slow, but to go from 300K bits per second, or whatever the read speed was, to 600, it doubled your speed. So Wing Commander 3, for example, the load time between the movies and the gameplay on my double speed drive, the 2x drive, was like, I think it was like 2 or 3 minutes. Like it would load for a long time. And then when I got the new CD-ROM, it cut that load time in half. It was like, whoa, you know? It's noticeable. It was almost like getting the SSD installed in my computer. All right, so let's go in here and see what we got. So now what I did is I copied the entire PC Gamer thing to the hard drive here. So let's go back to PC Gamer. We're just going to run it locally. It should work. I'm going to pop the disk out too so it doesn't get confused. So we're going to pop that disk out, just put it in with nothing in there. And we'll go down to here. And once I get this all figured out, we will have another stream where we'll just go through everything on this disk. I think it'd be kind of fun. And then that'll be one stream, and then we'll do another one. Welcome to another world. And we got some followers here. So Christopher Clark and Finn Anderson, thank you for following on Amazon. Oh, it's interesting. Eric says the VPN will not allow Amazon to load. I wonder if it's a regional thing. Old PC guy is enjoying the show. Excellent, thank you. And this is an old PC, so this is right up your alley, right? And it's hard to get this old stuff working with all the new stuff, so it's difficult. We have to get it to work with this, right? To get this onto that. That's the challenge. Ed L says, I'm feeling old. And Matt Davidson, yes, the Kogan fairs, those are the ones I would go to, the Kogan computer fairs here in Connecticut. And they would do them like once a quarter. And I never missed it because there was deals. And so you would walk into the thing. It's just this big, thing. And you'd walk in and there was just computer stuff. But it's like new stuff that's just loose everywhere. So I bought, there was one show I went to. They would sell Intel processors out of a tray. You would just buy the chip from a tray. So I bought a 166 megahertz Pentium at one of those shows. I didn't even have the motherboard yet, but I bought one there. It was a good deal. Red Hornet says, I was never a big gamer, but in order to use the computer at the office, I would collect as many of those games and give them to the to the computer administrator. That's a great idea. So I mentioned that on Amazon. Yeah, the key to a computer administrator's attention is to get them free games. That would certainly that would work for me back then. Absolutely. We love our games. All right, let's try this one more time. And if the video doesn't work, we'll come back to this with the actual game. Yeah, it's something with, I'm guessing it's something with Windows that's messing it up. Ooh, you know what we could try? Let's try this real quick. And I forgot to how to get out of this thing. See how much faster it loaded, though? So I think it's that video driver thing that it was talking about. I just want to get out of it. And now it's going to be like super fast loading because we've got... It's not letting me get out of that. It's beeping. I'm trying to remember what keys do what. There we go. So let's kill the demo here. Okay, so we're going to terminate it. So let me go back. I'm determined to get you to see this video because this was like, I was into this. Oh, the num lock is still on. Oh, I can use this keyboard now. So by the way, my USB keyboard is working. So I just want to read that README file again so we can get an idea as to how to make this work. Because remember, this demo was not like a mass consumption thing necessarily because they made this just for their CD-ROM. All right, so this demo is a promotional trailer which loops endlessly. When you hit escape to enter spaceflight, you'll be in the cockpit of the Aerofighter. Move the joystick around and pull the trigger. Okay, so that's the one thing that we don't have. Alt-X gets you out of spaceflight. So here were the requirements back in the day, okay? 486-33, 8 megabytes of RAM. You needed 7 megabytes of XMS available. You needed 500K of conventional memory, a double-speed CD-ROM drive, and a VGA card. It is recommended that you remove any disk caching software. So it looks like it doesn't work with the keyboard. You must have a rate of 275,000 bits per second or greater for your CD-ROM to keep up with the game. Also, if your video speed is slower than a rating of 12, your machine will have difficulty keeping up. This is true regardless of processor speed. The demo in this final game will create a small directory off of your C drive called CWC3. All right, so let's try the -V and see if we can get any further there. Yeah, because you can't control it with the keyboard. You can in the actual game. So it looks like this might actually be running in Super VGA mode, 640 by 480. And they do give you, oh, look at this, okay. So they do give you a boot disk configuration. So why don't we copy this? Because that might get the video to run if we put it into DOS mode. So let's try that real quick. All right, so being able to run in DOS machine, minimum memory requirement for Windows is 12 megabytes. We got plenty of that. Yeah, this is cool. Yeah, this is a real, like, kind of like in the middle of development kind of thing that they did. All right, so let's go over here. And we'll go into this advanced mode. Granted, normally you'd do a boot disk. I just can't find the floppy drive for this at the moment. So we don't have a floppy drive. And we're going to put in, oh, it's got it running already, but let's just do that. Actually, I think, you know what? Let me cancel this because there's no DOS folder on this computer. Okay, see Windows High Mem Sys. It's the same thing. Okay, so let's hit OK. Let's just see what happens when we do it this way. Ready? It may end up just rebooting into nothing again like it did before. But now we don't need the CD-ROM drive because we have it on the hard drive. So let's see if it boots up. Stephen S. in the chat, on the Amazon chat, F1 to resume. And by the way, I'm not seeing anything on my display, but it's starting up here. So we'll have, oh, look at this. Come on, give us some video. Yeah, it's just not working. You will see this the next time we do this. It will work at some point. It's just frozen up. Stephen S. says, man, I remember the Kogan computer fairs. I used to go to all the time. Blast from the past. And I guess they're still going on. We should go to one of those shows. So I'm still building computers and stuff, so that might be kind of fun. All right, so it looks like yes, there's no keyboard support, but the game does run. Now, most people would not, at that point in time when this demo came out, like this game is running amazingly well for the hardware requirements. And that's because this is a 233 megahertz Pentium. So most people had like a 90, well actually no, most people did not have that. Most people had like a 486 of some kind if they wanted to try to run this thing. But generally you didn't have much ability to get that game to run. So most people could not run Wing Commander 3 until like Wing Commander 4 came out because the computers just were not up to par. And that was Chris Roberts' MO. He really pushed the envelope on this stuff. All right, we got to go hit any key. Are we locked up here? There it goes. All right, get Windows going. Yes, it looks like the scaler is doing some scaling, which is good. Eric B. says the church is still loving the A10 Mini. Awesome. Yeah, that thing is a rock-solid video device, for sure. And you don't see anything on screen because we have to do this here. Let's just do that, and I got to do, there we go. If you want to hear the music, I'll put it back on. And it would play this every time you booted Windows up, unless you clicked on this thing right here and it would go away. TLM wants to know, what is the latency like on this thing? Well, I can show you, I think. Yeah, let me pull up. So, and you know what I think is important, especially about this era of when these PCs were around, is that the games really, the games were for the most part more strategy kind of games. Wing Commander was maybe the exception. But it was still in the simulator category where you didn't need a lot of precision, and there wasn't a lot of platformers. There was things like what'd you have, like Commander Keen and some of those games and Jazz Jackrabbit. But they, I think if you liked those twitchy arcade style games, you would find a better experience on the consoles, because this was back at this point, '94 was Super Nintendo, right? Like the games just were that hardware was optimized for that kind of game. So there was a very big difference between the PC games of the time and and what you would get on a console. And so there was a reason to like have both, if you like some of the twitchy games sometimes. So Umberto is wondering, would it be like a Pentium 2 to run that game? Yeah, I think you would want that for sure. And I think if you had like one of those 486 DX2s, you could probably get by with that game. But it really pushed the limit a lot more than a lot of people had. But that was like the big deal on this disc, because you could not get a demo for that game, and it would play the video. You'd actually see it. And Mark Hamill is in this. He is the lead character. He acts in this. And John Rhys Davies is in this, and a whole bunch of like faces that you would recognize. This one's called Dragon Lore. It doesn't look all that interesting. Let's see what else we got on here. We're going to do another thing where we actually go through all this. This one's called Dawn Patrol. It's like a World War I simulator. Desert Strike, Return to the Gulf. PC translation of the Sega. See, here's an example of like a game getting translated. Let's see what else is on it. Dreamweb. Jazz Jackrabbit. There you go. There's your platformer. Traffic Department 2192. I wonder if some of these are like shareware titles. But you see what I mean? Like $8 would get you a lot of time just to mess around with stuff. Metal Marines. This was a good game. I think I had this one. It was like a real-time strategy thing. Rise of the Robots. This was a fighting game, like a Street Fighter kind of thing. Here, we'll install that one real quick. Invalid. Oh. All right, I'm going to have to play around with this some more. These are all like pre-production demos. Rise of the Robots features some of the most stunning graphics ever seen on a 486. And you would not see any of these games on consoles, really, except for that one thing we were talking about. And these are some shareware titles, it looks like. So there's a good amount of stuff on here. why it's not letting me install it though. Invalid file name or directory. It's probably because I'm not running this on the CD-ROM drive right now. It's probably why it's unhappy with me. Well, I'm happy this is working. That was like my objective for today, was just to get this working here. What do these things do down here? A, B, C, D. They don't seem to do anything. All right, so let us go and see. They have Roadrunner on here too. I'm just looking on here to see if we can get one of these things going. These are those Doom wads on here. Like, you just get this blob of files too. You'd have to figure out what to do with it. My mouse button is starting to go too. Yep, the mouse button is like, there it goes. It's definitely misbehaving. It was a batch file to install these WAD files. I think I have Doom installed on this actually. What's this one do? The final gathering. And this, by the way, would be like the kind of file you would see on the BBS, so you knew what you were about to download. Here's this guy's on CompuServe. From Daniel Storman Norman. So final revisions of the gathering. It puts the all right, let's check it out. Let's check it out. All right, so we'll go here and close this. Yeah, so you have all these Doom wads. So you play through all these demos, and you've got like all this stuff to enhance your Doom game too. So, and I think I have Doom installed on this computer. Let's see. Nope, I don't. Never mind. All right, we're going to come back. I'm going to spend some time to get this all working on the next stream, because I have to get going here soon. All right. Well, I think we've made some progress here. I got to figure out a couple of things. So here's what I need to learn next. I need to learn more about how this thing works. The good news is that the pass-through is working just fine. So I think this looks okay for captured VGA footage. I will watch the playback of this live stream just to get a better feel for that. But that seems to be working. What I want to get going on here is a better keyboard and mouse combo. I think what I'll probably do is plug in one of my keyboard mouse combo devices into that USB port. The good news is that it does recognize the keyboard. And the question would be, well, let's do it now real quick and see what happens. Let me pull this out. And let's go grab my combo device and see if that fares any better. Oops. Because the other thing I got to do before I go back upstairs is get things set up. We're gonna have an interview as part of our thing for tomorrow. So let's just plug this thing in and see what happens. And we're going to put in the CD-ROM here. Get this figured out. So Richard was, so Eric was 10 in 94, and Richard was 18. That's how old I was. I was 18 in 94 also, so we're the same age. Yeah, I think like the 94 was a great year. I have a fond affection for 94. It was like, my first year at college. It's like the start of your adult life, all those good things. All right, let's go through the process here. It's going to go through this like 12 times, I think. And you see how it repeats the driver process? So it's like installing all these USB things, and then it's going through the process again, like here, new hardware found, once again. All right, so let's go back through this. And I think I have to do it this way. And that will force that driver to install. There we go. So I just want to get a better mouse going. And this is like the best one to pair up with that. Okay, so it's finished. And let's see if it recognizes it now. Yes, again, this is why nobody likes USB back then. Now it's great. Like you literally were going through these cycles of like, found the driver, what do you want to do? And it's tricky because this thing is technically two devices in one. But none of these combo devices existed, but you could plug a mouse in, and technically this should work, because this is not using anything that's out of spec for USB. All right, now it's thinking more, so that's good. I think it's on. That's the one downside of having a completely silent device, is that you don't know when oh, it's working. Awesome. So the mouse is working. There we go. And the keyboard. Perfect. Well, that's awesome. That's great. So yeah, we're using a wireless, this is one of these wireless ThinkPad keyboards. I love this, by the way. And I'm able to use that with this old computer with its USB port. And it was not, it was rare back when this was first available. Most of these computers did not have a USB port. This one has it. Pretty cool. Richard on the chat here says, I still play video games. I never stopped. Yeah, I have not stopped either, but my time to play them has significantly declined. I look at these games where it's like 80 hours to get through half of it. I'm like, oh, I can't do that one. But you know, it's been fun. My daughters love Animal Crossing, so we've been playing that a lot together. So that's been kind of fun. But now I had to buy a second copy of it for the other Switch, because the conflict point of my two girls is so the way this thing works is you can play like two-player cooperative off a single copy, but one player is the leader, the other one follows the other one around. You can see how that works. So we had to buy a second copy, which is coming in soon. It's on sale right now on Amazon, $49, and I buy all my Switch games physical because, and I have a video about this, I buy them physical because if I buy a game on my account, my daughter, it only allows one game on my account to be played at any time. That's it. So the physical games are so much better. Because if you could buy, let's say I was playing on Switch 1, let's say I was playing Animal Crossing digital, right? And then on Switch 2, if my daughter picked it up and played a different game that was something that I purchased digitally, she could not play it because my account is like locking out all the other digital games. But if you have the physical game on the Switch, you can easily switch them back and forth. So you can, like you could boot up the game as this user, and it doesn't impact any licensing issues. So I much prefer to buy the physical games on the Switch, because it makes life a lot easier. All right, I am in a good place now. So what we're going to do, I'm going to do some homework. And Richard says he's only on the PC. Yeah, I try to play the games only on the PC also, because my PC is so powerful upstairs. And I'm into all the VR stuff, so I love the virtual reality and everything. So that's where I tend to get most of the games onto. And I don't, typically I don't buy them when they first come out, so I usually buy them when they get on sale through one of the Steam platforms or whatever. So that works better. And Steam is a little bit more flexible on multi-family use. But I do like the Switch. I like the portability of it. I just really like that aspect to it. So yeah. All right, so my homework is we're going to try to figure out how to get all these demos to work off of this thing. But we got the capturing working. We've got my external keyboard trackpad combo here working on Windows 98. So yeah, we're in good shape. We're making progress. And I got audio working, the video's working. It's scaling, it looks like, on lower resolution stuff, so that's been good. So I think we're in a good spot. And Umberto has a very, very good point. Yeah, it's amazing now when you think about when you just plug things in, how they just tend to work these days. And that is definitely the truth across the board. So absolutely. All right, so I'm going to go turn this thing off for the night and unplug everything, just in case any power supplies decide to go kaput on me. And I'll be back again. I will probably, I'm not sure if we're going to, I'll try to do a stream tomorrow. We'll see how I'm doing on time. Because I just got in another one of those cell phone booster things, and those are really fun to do on a live stream to test, so because I have a really neat way to test those. So that'll probably be the next stream. And then I've got a monitor, and I've already reviewed this monitor, but I bought another one. It's the lowest priced 4K monitor from LG that you'll find on there. So I've got that coming up. and a couple other things too. So we've got a bunch of streams coming up. So the best thing you can do is set your notifications. And then on Amazon, if you want to, if you don't mind following me on Amazon, and there's a link in the video description to take you right into to where I am here. And Amazon will notify you. And I found Amazon's notifications are more reliable than YouTube's notifications tend to be. And then on February the 6th, which I believe is next week. When is February the 6th? So we're going to have a little Valentine's Day stream on Amazon because there are some discounts that will be available only if you're watching the stream. So that's a week from yesterday, Saturday the 6th. So mark your calendar on that. And I will, I'll push something out over the email list on that too. So yeah, I've had a very productive weekend because I got this working. Thank you for pushing that follow button, Richard. I got this working, which was part of my productivity this weekend. The other thing that I was working on was getting my email thing situated. So I have, you know, I do email blasts out to the viewers that want to get emails from me. And I was spending a fortune on this service because, you know, like what are you going to use, right? And so most of these services charge you, and it's not, I mean, look, if it works for you, great. But they charge you by the subscriber count. So I've got like 3,000 people on my email list, but I don't send out emails all that frequently because I don't want to bother people with like, oh, hey, I'm doing this now. Because I don't see a lot of click-through, you know. You know, I just don't tend to do those that often. But I send them out every once in a while. Maybe some of you got one of my emails yesterday. So I found this thing. And it's great because it works through Amazon. So Amazon, of course, has all of those web services, and this works through Amazon's SES, which is their simple email system. And so get this, it brought my cost down from like, you know, I would pay annually, and because my list kept growing, I was up to like $400 and something a year. It was crazy. So I found it right before the thing was about to renew. So I canceled the email subscription and I moved over to this thing called Sendy, S-E-N-D-Y. And if you do a lot of email blasting, you need to go look at Sendy. And Sendy is $60 or $69 one time. You have to run it on your web server, so you have to self-install and manage it. But wow, is it great. So it connects up with Amazon's simple email service, and Amazon transmits the emails from Sendy, but it works a lot like all these other services do. I mean, it may lack some of the fancier, you know, response features and stuff, but I wasn't marketing anything beyond trying to get people to watch a video. So for me, it made sense to like drop all that extra stuff that I didn't need. And what's been great about it is that the SES is, I think it is 10 cents per 1,000 emails sent. So I went from spending, you know, $30, $40 a month in the aggregate after you look at the annual cost to 30 cents for one blast. I sent out a test blast on Friday night just to get it out there. So that's it. Now the only thing that it doesn't do are some of the fancier features. So what I do is I pull in an RSS feed from my YouTube channel to like have as a footer on the email. So I did have to code up a little thing this weekend and I'll show you what it's looking like. Let's see, it's running on my local NAS here. So if I go to newsletter, I'll show you what I'm working on. So I found this thing. I forgot the name of it, but they have some email templates up. So I grabbed one of their templates and then I coded in using SimplePy. I'm just running this on my local NAS. And so what it does is it goes out to my 3 YouTube channels and it grabs all of my thumbnails and the links. And so it drops them into an email. Isn't that cool? So when I generate the newsletter, it'll pull down, like this bottom part here just gets generated automatically. And then I grab the source code, drop it into Sendy, adjust this part, and send it out. So that's how it's going to work. I just don't like how it's like, I want to give it a little bit more width here. So that's the one thing I'm going to be working on. But yeah, so I was like really happy to get that working. And that saved me, it saved me like $400 or $500 a year. That's a good deal. So, you know, little bit of elbow grease, and it's done. And Sendy was not hard to install. It's just as easy as doing WordPress or one of those other things. So it was good. Okay. All right. Well, everybody, I am going to head out. I appreciate everybody popping in. I want to thank Robert and Eric for your super chats. Much appreciated. And yeah, we'll be doing more with this. We'll start going through some of these demo discs when on the weekends or something when I have time, just to kind of do some nostalgic, fun look backs on how things used to be. Kind of fun. All right, everybody. I will catch you all on the flip side, and thank you all for tuning in. It was a fun stream here. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. And if you're close to where I am in the Northeast, get your bread and milk, because the storm is coming. Get it on Amazon. They'll deliver it to you or whatever. So good stuff. All right, everybody. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.